What's up, guys? It's Dork Sparse here to bring you a Warhammer video slash kind of like update on what's going on with the Warhammer stuff. And rather than kind of just talking about what's going on with it, I'm just gonna jump right into it. Space Marine just does not have the content needed to kind of keep myself occupied, so to speak, with Warhammer related stuff, just because lately it's been Darktide and obviously a lot of Marvel Rivals, and then kind of like the occasional different offshoot game like Delta Force. I made a couple videos on Delta Force. I also made a video that no one watched on a upcoming co-op game that's supposed to be coming out next week. I think it was called Rogateer or Terminal Brigade. Yeah, it was called Terminal Brigade. Really fun little co-op game. It sucks that no one watched that video. That it took some time for me to pull everything together, write down what I was going to say about it and such. Same goes for a couple of the Marvel Rival videos I did. I know that a lot of people kind of stuck around for the Warhammer stuff, and I know that some of the earliest subscribers were actually sticking around for the lore bit videos I did. The reason why I kind of stopped doing that stuff is just because my knowledge with Warhammer isn't as deep as some other creators who kind of like live and breathe Warhammer and have made a career out of everything Warhammer related. I just don't have that kind of knowledge, and nor do I have the time for that kind of knowledge, because when I first started coming back to YouTube, because this channel, actually, for those of you who don't know, this channel is pretty old. It's, I think, 16 years old. Coming up in September will be 16 years old, I believe. So it's a pretty old channel, and I was posting just some really random shit back in the day. And then when Space Marine 2 came out, that was actually the same time I also got injured. I had a pretty severe injury. I made a video on it that no one watched, which is kind of, it kind of sucks because it kind of talks about the injury that I sustained and how it marginalized my work field. So I can't do any of the work I used to do, like the physical work, like warehouse work. Most of my stuff has always been warehouse. Obviously, I'm also a detailer. For those of you who've seen one of my YouTube shorts I posted not too long ago, it was me at my detailing job, which I since left because I just couldn't do it because the injury I had. I have 6 not cortisone. I just have 6 different steroid shots in my lower back. Only one of them ever worked, and now it's starting to wear off. Now I just work a part-time job working for a rental company, and it's the easiest job in the world. I just sit in the back of the office waiting until I have to move a car, go pick up a customer or something. So it's a literal driving job. The pay is trash, but I'm trying to use it as a way to kind of get back into YouTube. But a lot of times I'll come home from work when I've done so much driving for a day, and I'm so lethargic, I'm so hungry, I'm so tired, I just want to sit and kind of like just rest. But then I also have to remind myself that I have to keep up with YouTube, because YouTube is not an easy thing to do. And on top of that, I have to try and play some of these games when I'm so tired and I just don't feel like speaking or doing anything like that. So a lot of times it's going to be B-roll footage, like what you see in the background. It's just B-roll footage of the Siege mode from Space Marine. Speaking of which, I was finally able to actually get into Space Marine 2 ever since the Siege update dropped, because I was having a lot of connection issues. For some reason, every time Space Marine has a major update, I always have issues trying to connect to the servers, and it's always a long time issue type thing. I only was able to just get back because it finally got sorted out, and now the game is running smooth for me again, and I can actually enjoy what the update brought. Too bad I wasn't able to actually make something on it when it first came out like I would have liked to. Instead, I had to focus on Darktide, because back then the Arbites DLC was also fresh, so at least I had a fallback plan. But lately I kind of just been staying away from Space Marine 2 in general, because it's a very bare bones game. I mean, I don't have to describe it for you. I'm sure a lot of you people play Space Marine, you know just how very little content there is in the game. For a YouTuber who tried to make a lot of Warhammer stuff, especially around Space Marine, it was actually kind of difficult to do, because then after like the first 3 or 4 videos, you basically saw everything, with the only fresh video ever coming out would be when an update comes out, like the Obelisk update. I know the big thing on my channel was creating Grey Knights in Space Marine 2 with the Obelisk update, because the Obelisk update allowed us to change the color of our lenses. That was a huge ordeal, and basically allowed us to fine-tune all the current chapters available in the game. So all the chapters actually had their correct eye colors, which is actually a huge plus. Salamanders in particular had red eyes before that update, and then after the update they actually had their gold lenses. That's kind of like part of their signature look. But anyway, then I also tried to do a short series after the Grey Knights, because a lot of people wanted to see more stuff on successor chapters, creating successor chapters using what we currently have. After the first couple of videos I did were, and some of the videos I would put in 2 or 3 successor chapters, just because after the first couple, they started getting a lot more simplified in terms of their color schemes. Some of them got to a point where successor chapter is just basically a recolored pauldron, while everything else is the same color as the chapter that they're based off of. And that really didn't make for entertaining or really anything. I don't even know what to call it. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to go to work with. And then when I tried to research more to make more videos on it, or on that series, a lot of the lore, a lot of the successor chapters that are mentioned don't have pictures, so I don't have a reference on what the chapter is supposed to look like. Some of them don't even have descriptions of what their color scheme is. It's just literally a description like, this is a successor chapter of Ultramarines, or this is a successor chapter of Blood Angels, or Iron Fist, or whatever. And that's it. There's like, okay, well, what's their color scheme? You know, why are they a successor chapter of this particular chapter? Like, from what era were they from? Are they like I don't know, are they Firstborn Marines? Or are they completely Primaris Marines? Or are they what? Like, what exactly are they? Don't just, you know, list a name of a successor chapter and then not even give us a description of what they look like. So that kind of killed the series from there. And then obviously after that, I think the last successor chapter video I posted was, I think, on Dark Angels. But then a week later, literally a week later, it was... or not a week later, what happened was Dynasty Warriors Origins came out. And I'm a huge Dynasty Warriors fan. And I'm still sitting on footage I've had for months, because I wanted to make a video on Dynasty Warriors and why it hasn't been so popular, or as popular in the West as the developers are hoping. And I wanted to make a video on that because, you know, Dynasty Warriors is I grew up playing that game. But then I also had the Salamander update come out. No, not the Salamander update. The Dark Angels update came out. I was already in the middle of making another successor chapter on Dark Angels. I can't remember which chapter it was, but that chapter then made it into the Dark Angels DLC, and that kind of just killed my video, because there was no point in posting that video, because they had the official colors come out. They also had the official motif come out for that chapter, as well as their emblems of decals and everything, just to make them look like that specific chapter. I didn't have to kind of base it off of the closest available content that we currently had in the game. So that really kind of just killed off that series entirely. So it was a very short-lived series. The only popular one from that series was creating Grey Knights, because Grey Knights aren't a successor chapter. They're a completely separate chapter altogether. And of course, Grey Knights are one of my favorites. Obviously, what you see in the background, just the B-roll footage of me in Siege, that is a Assault Marine dressed up as a Grey Knight. In fact, he's always looked like that since I made the Grey Knight video, with the only addition having the cowl from the Dark Angels DLC pack. But either way, there's just not a whole lot of content after that to pull from to make for Space Marine 2 and make it into a YouTube video. There's not a whole lot going on there. With the Siege update, I mean, it's a pretty standardized survival mode. Obviously, everyone would rather fight Tyranids all day, instead of every five waves, it'll switch between Tyranids and Chaos. Chaos just doesn't really work in a Siege type, or not a Siege type, but in a survival type game. Chaos forces, the forces of Tzeentch, they're just not a Horde army to begin with, so it just doesn't work, especially when the majority of the Horde coming at you are Chaos Forces and Imperial Guard, or Chaos Guard as they're referred to. And then obviously the Thousand Suns. I mean, it's not an interesting faction to fight against. Kind of boring, really. Whenever I have to fight them in Siege, it's kind of just a bore and more of a chore to get through those 5 waves, just so I can go back to fighting Tyranids. So I kind of wish that they had an option to choose between whether we want to fight against 20 waves of Tyranids or 20 waves of Chaos. Obviously, the popular choice is going to be Tyranids. There's not a whole lot to say right now on the Siege update. I mean, plus I'm also pretty late on it too, considering the issues I've been having with Space Marine. Now, moving forward, this is probably going to be like the last Space Marine video to see until the next major update. I don't know what's going on with the roadmap. I haven't really been keeping up with Space Marine, because ever since Dynasty Warriors Origins had dropped, I basically all but kind of dropped Space Marine altogether. I did go back to Dark Tide because of the Arbites DLC. I mean, there's a whole roadmap now for the next year of Dark Tide updates and content, so that's something to look forward to. And then, of course, a lot of my time has been spent on Marvel Rivals. And then on top of that, between work and trying to get some stuff figured out in real life, I don't have as much time as I would like to try and get into YouTube. I still want to get into YouTube and hopefully make it at least a part-time gig, while keeping my other part-time job with the rental company. That would be a nice lifestyle for me in particular. It's just right now, there's just not a whole lot right now to pull from Warhammer, at least for Space Marine. I could always go back to Chaos Gate, where you know, you're playing the Grey Knights and all that. I had a campaign in it, but that also got put on hold when Dynasty Warriors came out. I basically all my time went to Dynasty Warriors, started posting video after video after video of Dynasty Warriors, and Chaos Gate kind of just got left in the dust. So I would like to go back to that. I probably might post that sometime next week, maybe a couple more playthroughs of that, and trying to get back into that game and actually finish it. So that's something I'm going to be doing. I'm also still wanting to do more Marvel Rival videos. There is also a new co-op game coming out, Terminal Brigade, coming out next month, I believe, or not next month, next week on the 29th. I made a video on that. Unfortunately, it didn't get any views. Same with the Mecha Break that I posted. No, it didn't get any views. It's just really difficult to make videos on certain games like Space Marine 2, for example, that are so bare bones. There's just not a whole lot going on with it. Once you've seen one video of Siege, you've basically seen it all. It's the same thing. The rotations are the exact same. Every 5 waves, the enemies, the faction will change to Tyranids or Chaos, just whichever you were fighting now, you're going to be fighting them next on the next set of waves. It needs to have some more variety. One thing I would like to see moving forward with Siege is hopefully reintroduce orcs. Granted, orcs were never part of the main campaign. I mean, they were a thing from the original Space Marine, but it would still be nice to see orcs make their way into Siege mode at least. That way we have at least another faction to fight. And then the more notable one, the more obvious one, is during the later half of the campaign. Obviously, it's the Tomb World that you're fighting through. Obviously, Tomb World and Necrons. I don't think we're going to see Necrons in Space Marine 2, but we'll probably see them in Space Marine 3. Anyway, I think I've ranted on enough about what's kind of going on with Warhammer, why Space Marine 2 is kind of like faded from the channel. Either way, I'm just going to keep moving forward. I will still do more Warhammer, more Space Marine stuff if I can get to it. Overall, still motivated to do Space Marine. It's just Space Marine doesn't have a lot to offer, but I'll try and make it work. Alright, well, thanks for watching. We'll guys see you on that next video. Until then, have a good one.